Today I want to find out, would it be possible to beat the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion using only the Mage's Staff? But if, like me, you very rarely even go near the Mage's Guild, you're probably wondering what the Mage's Staff actually is. Essentially, it's an unfinished staff that you can have crafted to your desired magical effect as part of the Mage's Guild questline. So this was a viewer suggested video. If you do have any suggestions, please do let me know in the comments below. And I've been told that this staff is pretty terrible. So let's discuss the rules for this challenge before we begin. So, rule 1 being obviously that I'm only allowed to use the Mage's Staff. So by this logic, just to clarify, rule 2 means that I'm not allowed to use any other forms of weapons, armor, or magic of any kind. So naturally, this is going to rule out things such as healing and soul trapping, so I can see this becoming a problem. And while it was stipulated within the rules that I would be allowed to use soul gems, the problem here is that using a soul trap spell would violate the first rule of this challenge in that I'm only allowed to use the Mage's Staff, and for that reason I'll just find another option to recharge my staff. And finally, rule 3, no glitches, cheats or exploits. Oblivion is quite a glitch heavy game, so just this third rule is a challenge in itself. So now that we're all clear on the rules, let's get started. So to start with, I created a Breton character. Now this was solely for the magicka resistance that I will surely need. Emperor Uriel Picard's been dreaming about us again. Seems like a kind of abrupt way to introduce yourself. Now the best way to do the sewers is to essentially just let the guards take care of any enemies for you. For most of the sewers you can just run past any enemies. And the initial problem I have is that I don't actually have the staff yet, so a big part of this challenge is going to be actually getting the staff that I need. I was killed a couple of times against a few of the traps while I was trying to run past the goblins. The problem I had that was because they were constantly chasing me, I had to make some very quick decisions which ended up in my downfall. I chose the Atronach birth sign, which I never do. In my personal opinion, the Atronach birth sign has no actual practical use due to it stunting your magicka from regenerating. Unless, of course, you're trying to do Oblivion challenges on YouTube, in which case, yes, it might have some use here. You see, the 50% chance to absorb spells cast upon me is going to be very useful, especially with my 50% resist magic. And if we slow this next clip down, we can see that Boris comes to attack one of the Mythic Dawn agents, at which point he slices his sword straight through Emperor Uriel Septim, who seems pretty unnerved about the whole thing. Oh wait, there he goes. I created a custom class, choosing speed and endurance as my favourite attributes, as I'd like to be a bit faster and a bit bulkier. I chose acrobatics, armourer, athletics, mercantile, security, sneak and speechcraft as my major skills. Now these are all skills that I can level up outside of combat, have no real practical application to combat, and will allow me to hit level 2, as I'm going to need to be at least level 2 to continue this quest. Then it was just a case of running to the exit and we've escaped the sewers. Okay, so obviously my main objective needs to be getting the Mage's Staff. However, I can't get it just yet, not at least until I've done the Kvatch Oblivion Gate. This is because in order to get the staff, I will first need to complete the recommendations for the guild halls in order to get access to the Arcane University. Now, in order to do at least 2 of the recommendations, I was going to need Martin, and therefore, first of all, I'd have to close the Kvatch Gate. So after getting some supplies that I can sell from Joffrey, as well as a free horse, I headed into the first Oblivion Gate. And man, let me tell you, it can't be any hotter inside the realms of Oblivion than it is in Britain at the minute. We're going through a seriously bad heatwave. My plan had been to get the guard inside the gate to kill as many of the enemies as possible for me. However, he died extremely quickly, so I was forced to simply run through the gate, avoiding everything that I could. Now, this is a lot easier said than done, especially when the Scamps and Dremora have projectile magic. And as for the Dremora Sigil Keeper, obviously I had no way to actually kill him and take the key at the moment, so I was able to pickpocket it from him. Then it was just a simple case of running for my life and getting the sigil stone, closing the gate outside Kvatch. To fight our way into Kvatch, I simply just stood back and watched the guards take care of all of the scamps and Dremora. And after I grabbed Sean Bean, it was time to do the Mages Guild recommendations. So it made logical sense to just start on the left side of Cyrodiil and work my way across. The first one was Anvil, in which I had to destroy a rogue mage who had been robbing merchants at the side of the road. But first I stopped by a shop in the Imperial City and sold all of the items that I'd collected in the sewers, before picking up all the alchemical equipment from the Anvil Mages Guild. This can also be sold for a tidy profit. I allowed the two battle mages, as well as Martin, to take care of Caminalda? Caminalda? Is that it? I don't know. Who cares? The important thing is she's dead. So my next recommendation was in Skingrad. First of all, I took all the alchemical ingredient again, before going to rescue Earthor from Bleakflat's cave. So to be fair, this is actually normally quite a difficult quest. That's because you have to deal with zombies. Now, zombies hit really hard, but they're slow. However, they do regenerate health over time. Martin had his hands full just dealing with one, and there were several more to go. Of course, I can't really do a thing about it because I don't actually have the Mage's Staff yet, so I was forced to just sit back and watch. It took a tediously long amount of time to finish this quest, but eventually I found Earthor, told him to beat it and make his way back on his own, and sold all the alchemy equipment that I collected so far before turning in to complete the recommendation. Okay guys, so the next few recommendations are pretty unimportant, so I'm going to gloss over them quickly. So basically, I found a cat in Bruma, found Fingers of the Mountain, found a dead guy in a well, and stole a Mage's Staff. Now the last one in Leyawiin was very difficult. Basically, you have to go to Fort Blueblood, which is absolutely filled with marauders. And unfortunately, Martin is going to have to take care of all of them, so it's more sit back and watch for me. And you know, to be honest, when you're a higher level, these guys tend to have some pretty sweet items to sell, but currently I'm only level 1, so this was a very slow and drawn out process. And finally, after collecting Degale's amulet, Calthar tried to kill us, so once again I just let Martin take care of that slight inconvenience. And just like that, we had all of our recommendations to join the Arcane University and get our coveted staff. So after speaking with Ramus Polus, it was time to head to Wellspring Cave in order to get the staff that we're finally going to use to do this challenge with. But oh no, it seems it's been overrun with necromancers. So for the last time, Martin's going to have to hold my hand yet again and clear out this cave for me. Unfortunately though, he seemed much more interested in dealing with the summons from the necromancers, such as the ghosts. Not to mention the times where he fell straight into the water. And the fight in the grove was an absolute nightmare. I discovered that unless the head necromancer actually came over and spoke to me, she would not get involved in the fighting. Therefore, my plan was to literally run circles around her to prevent her coming to talk to me. Of course, this could not account for Martin repeatedly going for the summons instead of the necromancers themselves, so this took an excessively long time. Like, seriously, this fight took about 6 minutes, but at long last, I finally had my Mage's Staff. And lastly, all I had to do was enchant the staff. Now, you can pick several different kinds of enchantments. Obviously, I was going to go for Destruction. And basically, I chose Shock because, well, I think Dremora resist fire, and ghosts and undead resist cold, so I think there's less likely to be a chance of enemies resisting shock. Okay, initial reaction. It does 20 points of damage, which is good. However, I only get 40 uses. Oh dear. So now that I finally had my coveted Mage's Staff, I returned to Wayne Priory to deliver Martin, and oh no, the Mythic Dawn are attacking. Okay, so it's time to see what this staff can do at long last. You know what? That's not bad. 2 hits on a Mythic Dawn agent. Now, to be fair, not only am I low level, but, well, basically they're just Mythic Dawn agents, so you can't really expect much anyway. What do you mean you lost the Amulet of Kings? It's kind of important. I mean, that's like buying new tyres and then losing your car. Never mind, let's go to the pub and have a drink with Boris and think about our next plan. Oh great, a bar fight's broken out. Oh no, we killed him. Well, might as well rob him, right? And while we're on this freight train of utter incompetency and law-breaking, might as well blackmail a wood elf into giving us one of Mankar Cameron's commentaries. And now we're scuttling like rats through a sewer. Who the hell is in charge of this operation? I think I'm going to be writing a strongly worded letter to the HR department. I let Boris deal with the rats and the goblins in the sewer because I didn't really want to waste the charge of my staff. When I did meet the sponsor, Raven Cameron, I was able to two-shot him with my staff. And after collecting the next book of commentaries and dealing with the rest of the Mythic Dawn, I was actually able to keep Boris alive. And to be totally honest, that doesn't happen often. So all that's left to do was recharge my major staff, discover the location of the Mythic Dawn's hideout, and fight my way through it in order to get the Mysterium Xarxes. Now there's 2 ways that you can do this. The first is to give Harrow all of your possessions and he will lead you through to the shrine peacefully. The other way is, well, one shot. It took 1 shot to kill one of the higher level Mythic Dawn agents. Or maybe Harrow's just exceptionally weak, I'm not sure. What I do know is that most of the Mythic Dawn agents took 1 to 2 shots to take down. Like, this was an Anakin and the younglings in the Jedi Temple kind of situation. I had to make sure that my difficulty wasn't turned down. Now, the one obvious drawback is that, of course, I have a limited charge on the staff, with no way to recharge it, and there seems to be an infinite number of Mythic Dawn agents. Like, these guys come out of cracks in the woodwork like termites. You know what, now that I think about it, I might have actually had a harder time with termites, as they'd be harder to hit. After I freed the prisoner, as I thought he'd be a good meat shield, I took the Mysterium Xarxes and headed out of the shrine. Now, to be fair, due to the sheer number of the Mythic Dawn agents, they did batter my health down quite a bit. Also, I actually kept the prisoner alive, which I've never been able to do before, so it was a really interesting experience to be able to talk to him. Having returned to Cloud Ruler Temple, Joffrey informed me that there were some spies around Bruma. I'd wasted quite a lot of charge in the shrine, so I went to get it recharged before taking out both the spies. They were pretty easy to deal with. But Martin always has more stuff for us to do. The next thing he wanted me to do was collect a Daedric artifact for some kind of ritual that he was planning. Now, in order to do this, I'd have to be at least level 2. So I planned on just power leveling my speech skill to get the required level. However, I decided this was taking too long, so I went into one of the inns in the Imperial City and just used the sneak command. Now that I was at level 2, I was able to go and see Azura to start her quest. So Azura wants us to go and give Piece of Death to a few of her followers who slayed the vampire called Dratic. Turns out Azura's followers ain't that bright. As it turns out, vampirism is actually contagious, and they all caught the disease. I mean, what the hell did you think was going to happen? Now, this is actually where the challenge got difficult. The vampires do a lot of damage, and they actually take a lot of hits to take down. Well, the orcs did anyway. One of the orc vampires actually killed me twice. Now, I assume this is due to the natural magicka resistance of orcs, plus their heightened endurance giving them increased health. Also, they're absolute units when it comes to using blunt weaponry. I did manage to take her down in the end, but it was mainly just by keeping my distance and hope she couldn't catch me, while desperately trying to fire shots at her. And for some reason, the second orc went down a lot easier, and the last vampire, well, I one-shotted. After returning to Martin and Joffrey, I found that an Oblivion Gate has indeed opened up outside of Bruma. I'd have to go and recharge my staff yet again, though I was starting to get concerned I was going to run out of money eventually. Captain Bird gave an inspiring speech about how they were going to go in and close the gate before leading his men to their certain deaths. But not him, though. He's an important part of the game, and therefore he can't be killed just yet. And I abused this mechanic maliciously. You see, I didn't want to waste too much charge, if any, in this gate when I knew that Bird could not be killed. Also, I've said it before and I'll say it again, he is an absolute powerhouse. He just cut his way through enemies effortlessly, so I didn't even really need to bother doing anything. Essentially, I just slowly made my way up to the gate and showed Captain Bird how to close the Oblivion gate. And that was it. Job done. So the next quest is normally one of the hardest to do in these Oblivion challenges, and it is of course recovering the armour of Tiber Septim from Sanctor. So I hadn't fired off a single shot in the last Oblivion gate, which means I still had full charge as I headed inside. My plan here was to just run past the ghosts and just deal with the blades that I had to kill. I did not want to waste charge on dealing with the ghosts. Okay, that took about 3 shots to take down one of the blades. Now, there's 4 in total, plus the warden, that's 5. 3 times 5 is... You know what? Let me know in the comment section. Wrong answers only, please. So the ghosts really proved to be not that difficult to avoid. They're really quite slow, and while they do have a projectile frost spell, they only managed to hit me a couple of times. I was able to kill the warden, as well as the rest of the blades without really any much fuss at all. Any much fuss? Really, did I just say that? I swear my English teacher must be crying right now. Well, with all the blades defeated, we were able to go in and take the armour of Tiber Septim. Nothing like a good grave robbing. Upon returning to Martin, he told me that progress on the Mysterium Xerxes is slow. Well, of course it is. He's just as useless as everyone else in this operation. You know, I kind of feel bad about saying that because I'm actually a huge Sean Bean fan. I will watch anything with Sean Bean in it. It doesn't even have to be good. You know what, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. So, my next mission was to go to Miskarkand in order to get a Great Welkid Stone. Well, first I'd have to go and recharge my staff. Then I had to go and get another horse from the Imperial City. I got it for free thanks to the Horse Armor DLC. My old horse got killed. So unfortunately there would be no skipping around enemies inside Sanctor. They will follow you around forever, always hunting you. Plus, Sanctor is an absolute maze. It's easy to get lost and you have to find hidden switches. I would definitely need all of the enemies clearing out if I was going to do this. And of course, the biggest problem being that there was a lot of skeletons, zombies and goblins inside Sanctor. The skeletons took about 1 hit, but some of the goblins took about 6. And the zombies, although they are quite hard hitting, they are extremely slow. However, they were absolute sponges when taking damage. I was becoming painfully aware that I was in danger of running out of charge when fighting the King of Miskarkand. Then I found a Great Valor Stone inside the ruin, which did replenish my staff. However, by the time I got to the King of Miskarkand, I had about 6 uses left again. Like, there was just so many enemies. The zombies were an absolute nightmare to deal with. Having finally reached the Great Welkid Stone, I grabbed it where the King of Miskarkand appeared. Now, my first attempt on him, I nearly beat him. I really nearly did. But I think he's got some kind of effect where he absorbs magic or something, because, yeah, I ended up getting killed. Not once, but twice. I decided the best course of action would be to run as fast as my little legs would carry me, and I escaped Miskarkand with the Great Welkid Stone. So having returned to Martin yet again, I'm starting to feel like an errand boy now. He told me that the last item he needed was a Great Sigil Stone. In order to get this, we had to allow a great gate to open outside of Bruma. So, after recharging my staff and telling the Countess of Bruma that I got absolutely no one to help us with this fight, we headed down to the battlefield, where I watched the pawns fall against the fires of oblivion as I did nothing to help them. I can still hear the screams. After a few minutes, the Great Gate opened and I headed inside. Now, the objective here is not to kill all the enemies. You see, you actually have a time limit on completing this gate before Martin gets killed. So the aim of the game here is speed. You are actually encouraged to rush past anything you can and get the Great Sigil Stone. Unfortunately, I got stuck at one part where there was 2 Dremora that I just couldn't kill. You see, because I've been rushing past everything, I was on extremely low health now, and while there was a blood fountain just on top, I couldn't reach it in time in order to actually use it. So I decided to turn on my heels, head down the tower, and head up the other one, where there was only 1 Dremora that I was actually able to take down, use the blood fountain, and open the gate. After that, it's just a simple case of running past everything and getting the Great Sigil Stone. After that, the Brumagard mopped up whatever enemies were left outside the gate. Then, after charging my staff, my penultimate mission was to head into Manka Cameron's paradise and retrieve the Amulet of Kings. Okay, where do I start here? First of all, Manka Cameron does not shut up for your entire journey through paradise. He's like the Oblivion equivalent of Navi from Ocarina of Time. You can simply just avoid most of the enemies within the Savage Garden. However, there is a Dremora that you can either serve or you can kill to get the Bands of the Chosen. Now, I just chose to kill him because I wasn't really concerned about running out of charge on my staff. As far as I was concerned, Manka Cameron wouldn't really take that many hits. Now, I was painfully aware that he had either some kind of absorb or reflect spell on him. But we don't have to do this alone. There's actually an ascended mortal called Eldamil who seems to regret what he's done and decides to help us take down Manka Cameron. Then after that, it's just through running through the nonsense land he calls a paradise. Honestly, I would say that the Shivering Isles was more of a paradise than this place. At least there's actually things in the Shivering Isles. Now, on my way out, I was actually being chased by one of those big blue things with the X at the start of the name and that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. However, Manka Cameron's children actually took him down for me, so they just kind of team killed there. Right, okay, no messing around now. From previous runs, I know this guy's hard, and he's not going to go down easy. Plus, he has some kind of Magicka Reflect spell on him, so I just want to go in guns blazing and get the job done. Now, the annoying thing about Manka Cameron is he keeps moving around a lot, which means I'm missing a lot and wasting charge. So, my first 2 attempts ended up in disaster. I ended up getting killed both times. First time slowly, the second time I went in guns blazing and died very quickly. So, on my next attempt, I thought it might be a good idea to try and stand on top of one of the chandeliers and snipe him from there. However, I once again ended up getting killed. Then I thought, you know what, let's take out his kids first. That way I'll only have to deal with him. Of course, his kids do respawn. You know, it's absolutely crazy. Most of this challenge has been excessively easy, and then right at the final push, it becomes overwhelmingly difficult. So, unfortunately, I had to turn down the difficulty. And I took down Manka Cameron. I know, there's no honor in killing him this way, but I come too far now. And our final mission was to escort Martin to the Temple of the One to light the dragonflies and close shut the jaws of oblivion once and for all. Unfortunately, we were too late. Mehrunes Dagon appeared out of nowhere. Okay, let's not panic. We have at least a 20-foot, 4-armed monster inside the Imperial City. What do we do? Well, to be fair, turn into a giant dragon and rip his throat out was going to be my second guess. My first was going to be go into Skyrim and get Paarthurnax. I mean, come on, he's literally a dragon. He's just sat there on his mountain according to the Elder Scrolls lore anyway. What's he doing? Anyway guys, that's how we beat the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion using only the Mage's Staff. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for the video suggestion. I always enjoy doing Oblivion videos. I enjoy doing all challenges really, but Oblivion is my favourite game and it holds a special place in my heart. I'd say that the major staff is actually pretty OP if you stay at low level. Once you get into the higher levels, it could have been so much more difficult, but naturally I want to try and make this as easy on myself as possible. So staying at lower levels just kind of seems to work for Oblivion challenges, because people say the level system is broken, but I actually prefer it. So I've already been given my next challenge, and it's going to be, can you beat Skyrim with a fork? That is something I really want to sink my teeth into. But yeah, that's going to be my next challenge. Stick around for more, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Leave any comments if you do have any, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.